Hey guys, dude here. I'm not feeling great. I've got the sniffles. I think I've got a cold. But two things. The shop never sleeps, and I always feel better when I'm working on a project. So my wife says that I have too many projects. As if that's a thing. Like, how can you have too many projects? But I don't know. She might have a point. I have never seen her quite so pissed off as when I brought this next project home. So check it out. So this project, my wife was really not happy about. She's not a fan of motorcycles. I am. And it was yet another project that she thinks that I did not need. And she was probably right. She usually is right. Anyway, this is a 1979 Honda Gold Wing. It's a GL1000. It's got a 1000cc water-cooled engine. It was pretty revolutionary for its time. This is about probably 3 years into the production. I think they started in '76. And I've got big plans. She doesn't look like much right now, but I've been working on her for a while, and she's got big plans. I've got big plans, sorry, for this bike. So we'll see how it turns out. But today we're going to prep the engine and get it ready to mount in the frame. I'm going to, yes, I will use slave labor, child slave labor in this video. My kids, I'll enlist them to help me. Let's see how it goes. So I wanted to show you something. This is the coolant system. The intake's here, goes through a thermostat, gets distributed here to the heads, and the pickup is down below back into the radiator. So I did screw up, boys and girls. I know, first time ever, right? And I busted off this bolt in the head. I tried to drill it out, broke off the drill bit, started to mangle the hole, and decided it was time to call in the reinforcements. I took it to a machine shop, and they put in a new threads. And so they got that fixed. I'm going to seal this up, put in new bolts. It's got an O-ring that kind of seals up the system. Get that up, do a little bit of wiring, and you know, start getting it prepped to put back in the frame. Okay, I got the coolant system reattached, all new bolts right there. Now I'm going to put on the intake. Okay, I hand started all the bolts that hold the intakes. Oops, it's the wrong way. Now I'm going to tighten them down. Just going to get them snug. Okay, all the intake nut bolts are nice and tight. This is not the stock carburetor or intake manifold. Honda originally had 4 carburetors here set up. I've never owned one before, but I've heard is that it's tough to synchronize them and keep them working properly. So this is a pretty common modification where you can buy an intake manifold that will take a Volkswagen, an old Volkswagen Beetle carburetor, which is going to produce you know, plenty of air fuel mixture for this 1000cc engine. One of the things that they recommend that you do is to connect the neutral light switch before you mount the engine, because after it's mounted, it's almost impossible to get into it. And that's on the, let's see, starboard. If you're a sailor, starboard side of the engine. If you're sitting on the motorcycle facing forward, it'd be on the right side of the engine. And I'm going to replace this wire, because this is the original wire, but it's kind of beat up and frayed. I mean, we're talking about a 40-year-old motorcycle. So I put this new wire on, and I'm going to splice it over here. Whenever possible, I like to actually solder my electrical connections, slip on the heat shrink protector that we're going to use after, and my 2 wires. I'm going to kind of separate them and see if I can get them to kind of intertwine, hold them a little bit better as I solder. Heat up the joint first. You want to get make sure that the solder has good penetration in the wires, not just on top. It really melts around and through. A little dab on there and get it to melt on, around, and through the wires. There, that looks good. Then we take the heat shrink wrap, slip it over the joint, make sure it's covered at the same distance on either side. You can kind of feel it in there. That looks about right. Hit it with a heat gun. Shouldn't take that long. Doesn't take that much heat to make this thing shrink. There it goes. Basically to keep moisture and dirt and stuff out of that. That's it. Now we're going to tidy up this wire and keep it from kind of bouncing around by, let's open that up, get the wire nice and in there. I'm going to attach it right here. Okay, this wiring harness kind of comes up like this. So that's a good spot for that wire right there. Perfect. It's nice and tidy and looks good too. Now we're looking at the back side of the engine. This is actually going to attach to the drive shaft. Honda calls it the final drive out to the rear wheel. And they say that you need to attach the cable, the clutch cable now, because it's just easier than doing it when the engine's in the bike. So I've got a brand new clutch cable here, and we're going to put that on. Okay, that's pretty much it. The adjustment's all at the other end, and there's some adjustment in here too as you pull this out. I actually had a motorcycle shop put in a brand new clutch. It needed it. They also checked the compression and the starter, and everything's fine. This bike only had about 35,000 original miles on it, so I'm really excited about putting it together and riding it. This cover goes right there. Kind of keep dirt and stuff out of there, but there's no way that's going on like that on this pretty engine, so I got to clean this up. Got it cleaned up and ready for paint, but now I've got another problem. After 40 years, these rubber grommets that hold this insert in just disintegrated when I was cleaning it up, and this looks like a pretty specialized piece. This is when, boys and girls, you got to kind of MacGyver it. So I'm going to try to find a grommet at the hardware store that's a close enough fit so that I can put this back after painting it. We'll see how it goes. I'll let you know. So look at that, kiddies. Went down to Ace Hardware and picked up a couple grommets. They're not perfect, but they fit and they'll do the job. 25 cents each. Gotta love Ace Hardware. They usually have a pretty good selection of fasteners. Now, I've got to paint this and let it dry so I can handle it so we can put it on the engine. Here's our cover, nice and painted. Grommets are back in. The metal inserts are back in. I'm gonna put the old gasket back on and mount this. Find the holes back in there. What happens on these projects, right? You have to step out, buy a part, paint a part. Takes about twice as long as you thought it was going to take, but better to do it right, do it nice, make it look good, than to try to rush through it. And I should know because I'm not that patient, so one thing I struggle with. Okay. There. That's ready to go. One thing that we've got to do, It's going to be a challenge. There's a little clip on the end of the shaft. The drive shaft, you have to take the clip off. The drive shaft fits over this axle, the spline, and then the clip holds the drive shaft onto this output from the engine. So I expect that to be rather challenging. We'll see how it goes. Guys, the moment of truth. Engine's ready to go into the frame. I've got a couple parts that have to attach after I get the motor kind of in there. I think I might have to lower the engine to allow the carburetor to pop up in the middle here, which is hollow. The gas tank on this motorcycle is actually back here. So I'm gonna go get my assistants, who are anxiously awaiting to help me. They're so excited. All right, kiddies, I'm here with my indentured servants. I mean, enthusiastic helpers. These are my kids. To protect their identities, we're gonna call this one Christopher. And this one's Matthew, just to protect their identities. You can tell how excited they are to help Dad with their project. You ready to do this, guys? Yeah, I thought so. We got the engine up on the jack so we can slide it into the left-hand side of the frame. We're gonna have to go up and down a bit. You can tell right now that's not gonna clear, so we're gonna have to lower it. But we'll see how we can get it in there. All right, we'll get it closer. Matthew, why don't you come around this side? Help Christopher keep it stable. And look for clearance. I'm gonna lower it.
There's no shot to see it.
Okay. Try to get it closer.
I think the jack doesn't get.
Yeah, that's not gonna go in, but let me try to lower it even more. Is that gonna clear? Oops, oops. No, it's not gonna clear. I'll look on the back end.
It needs to go through that way.
That may be a good idea,
actually. Actually, not.
I think the carburetor is in the way. And if we got the carburetor off,
I think it's too wide to do that. Look at it.
okay, I'm gonna take the carburetor off and give us more clearance. Okay, so I had to remove the carburetor here because this adaptation is probably fits a lot higher than the original 4 carburetors that sit close to the engine. Let's see if we can slide this in now. I'm gonna lower it because it's not clearing the oil on this side. Let's see a little bit. Okay, how's that? How's it look over there? Oops, can we get under that? There we go. Okay. What is it hitting now? Looks like it's hitting right down there. The engine's almost in. We've got to take this clip off and somehow get the engine. Ooh, it's almost clearing there. I think I've got enough clearance to get the shaft onto here and then clip this after this goes onto the shaft. There is some movement on this back and forth. There might be just enough to get that shaft on. All right, guys, it's day 2 of our project. I was not able to get it done yesterday, and it's definitely a 3-man job to put this in, but we're almost there. There's a few things that need to be done yet. I'll give you some close-ups of what I've done and what's left to be done and what I struggled with the most. So I'll show all of that to you. So pour yourself a cup of coffee, hopefully Costa Rican, drink nothing but the best, guys. And let's take a look at this project. So on this side of the motorcycle, there's this detachable piece of the frame. You can see how I kind of banged it up trying to get it in yesterday. Goes along the downside, bolts up there. The other side of the frame is rigid. I'll show that to you in a sec. So this engine mounts down here. So I had to, let's see if I can get a shot of that. It's a little tight in there. Okay, maybe this side. Yep. Can you see that? Where is it? There. That bolt has to go through the bolt that you see right there. goes through the engine case and holds it right there. Let me see if I can get another shot over here. There, you can see that. Okay, so that was one of the things that we had to do. I kept hitting the frame up here with this piece, trying to get it in. And then around this side, what's left to do is there's a long bolt that goes through that hole and all the way through the engine. You see how that's kind of not lined up, so I've got to line that up and get that long bolt in there. There's another bracket bolts into here, and then it's got a long bolt that goes through the back of the engine and across to the other side. Let's take a look at the other side. I had to remove one of the valve covers here to try to get some more clearance around the front of the frame, so I have to put that back on. And then this is kind of what that bracket looks like. This is the long bolt that has to go through, so I got to line that up. I've got the bolt in there below, and then I've got to line up this long. See if I can get some light in there. Yeah, you see how it's not lined up properly, so I need to get that done and put the nut on that bolt to hold it there. And then the engine's in. There's a lot left to do on this bike, but I'm getting excited about getting it all put together, so it'll take it for a spin. One of the most challenging things was to get the output from the engine on the shaft, and it's really tight in there. I apologize, but at the end of that shaft was that clip, so you have to get the shaft all the way on, put the clip on. This is the boot that covers it up, so you just kind of turn it inside out, attach it on the engine side so that it's not in your way. And, oh, you can barely see the clip right there. All right, this was tough because you had to get it all lined up properly, which means the engine has to almost be in position, and it's a tight fit. It's a very tight fit. So we wrestled with the beastie for quite a bit, but we got it done. Major milestone accomplished today on the 1979 Honda Gold Wing build. The engine is in. Took a lot of work. You can't do it without 3 people, so you do need like 2 assistants. You need a floor jack, and you need a lot of patience. But I want to thank my my kids, Christopher and Matthew. Thanks for your help. I love you, and thank you for watching. Stay tuned. There's a lot more to do on this, and I'll keep you guys posted. Thanks.